Welcome back. So the failure of the insurance formulation of the luck argument does not yet show that the argument fails, because there are different formulations of the argument, and in this lecture we'll look at a second influential formulation of the luck argument, which is called the rollback formulation, and that goes back to the philosopher Peter van Inwagen. So here's what's going on in the rollback argument. So we're invited to imagine an agent, Alice, who faces a difficult choice between lying and not lying, where there are weighty considerations on either side. And moreover, Alice lives in a world where indeterminism is true and her decision-making procedure works in the kind of way the libertarian imagines. And moreover, we imagine that God is performing some kind of experiment with the world where she waits till Alice has made her decision and has either lied or not lied. Then she turns back time, so she rolls back events and lets them play out again. So she basically presses the replay button over and over again. And she does that many hundreds, or if you want, even many millions or billion times. And finally, we imagine that as God does that, we see that after the same scenario has played out many, many, many times, we see that Alice lies about half of the time and tells the truth about the other half of the time. And according to the rollback argument, this shows us that Alice really has no control over whether she lies or not, because whether she lies or not seems to be fully determined by how the chances play out and not by anything Alice can do. So she has no control over whether she lies or not. It's simply a matter of chance, and so she has no free will. And Franklin again breaks down the rollback argument into a more precise formulation, which has three premises and a conclusion. And I've copied that from the text. Franklin's strategy is to reject the second premise of the rollback argument, which says that if an event E is a matter of luck, then no one was able to prevent or bring about E. So basically, if Alice lying is a matter of luck, then no one, including Alice, was able to prevent or bring about whether Alice lies. And note that this premise sounds a lot like the assumption of antecedent control that played a role in the previous argument, the insurance formulation of the rollback argument. But what's interesting is that van Inwagen gives a new argument for RF2. He gives a defense of why that is true. And that defense has to do with promising. So now we're imagining a person A who knows an embarrassing secret about B. And so B asks A, please don't tell anyone my secret, promise. But according to van Inwagen, if A knows that whether she will reveal the promise or keep the promise is a matter of chance, then A can't really promise. Suppose A knows that there's a 43% chance that she will reveal the embarrassing secret and a 57% chance that she will not reveal it, then A is not really in a position to promise that she will keep the secret. And according to van Inwagen, the fact that A can promise that she won't reveal the secret shows that she does not have the power to prevent or bring about telling or not telling the secret. And that she cannot promise is simply a consequence of the fact that it's due to chance rather than due to anything A can do. So that's the substance of van Inwagen's argument. And Franklin has a response to this argument, and the response is a response against the promising scenario. And Franklin thinks what's wrong with Van Inwagen's setup of the promise case is that Van Inwagen makes it sound as if, given indeterminism, B has absolutely no control over whether she will tell the secret or reveal the secret. And according to Franklin, that's simply wrong, because it may be true that at time t3, at the time when B actually when this person here, the secret keeper, either tells or doesn't tell, there it's fully determined by the chances, but it's still plausible that at an earlier time, the secret keeper can do lots of things that will affect these probabilities here. For example, if at T1, the secret keeper really sets her mind to and forms an intention to not tell the secret, then this will very likely influence these probabilities here and shift the probabilities towards not telling. So the secret keeper can do things that influence whether she will tell the secret or not. And so according to Franklin, she can do things that either make her reveal the secret or make her keep the secret. And Franklin thinks that's enough to push back Van Inwagen's argument. But the question is, does that really help? I mean, if B knows, I think I'm confusing up the labels. If the secret keeper knows that at the end of the day, what she will do is just fully up to chance, even if she doesn't know what the exact probabilities are, and even if she knows that she can affect the probabilities, that she can raise the probability that she will keep the secret. As long as she knows that at the end of the day, it's still a matter of chance, no matter how the chances are stacked, it seems intuitive that she still can promise. She still has to say, oh, I do what I can to make the probability that I won't reveal your secret as high as I can, but at the end of the day, it's still a matter of probabilities, so I can't promise you that I will keep the secret. It depends on how the probabilities work out. It seems that's really all she can say, and so it still seems that she cannot make a promise. However, it seems that Franklin has a second reply to the promise case, and he seems to make that in footnote 20 on page 136. And here he considers a basketball player who has the ability to throw the basketball through the hoop. And it seems that we might still say that the basketball player has the opportunity, but from that it doesn't follow that she's guaranteed to succeed. So it seems that even we might say the basketball player has the ability to throw the ball through the hoop, she still cannot promise that she will do it, because despite having the ability, she might not succeed. And similarly, Franklin might say that the ability to make a promise is simply a too strong requirement on having the ability to prevent or bring about an outcome. Because you might have the ability to prevent or bring about something, such as throwing a basketball through a hoop, even if you couldn't really promise that he will do it, because there's still some chance of failure. And there's a question of how plausible that is to simply reject the promising requirement. So that's all I wanted to say about the rollback formulation, which I find one of the most fascinating formulations of the argument. So I'm really interested in what you think. But one thing I wanted to still suggest is, and hear your opinion on, it seems that there are really two different versions of the argument here. There's a rollback scenario where we just imagine that God rolls back time and things are played over and over again. And then we think about whether that scenario by itself somehow shows that the agent in question doesn't have free will if her decision is governed by chance. So that's a pure rollback scenario, and Franklin at some point discusses whether that by itself already shows that free will is incompatible with chance. But then we get the promising scenario, which seems to be independent of the rollback scenario. So there's simply the question of whether the fact that an indeterministic agent couldn't make any promises, if that is true, already shows that she doesn't have free will. And that seems to have nothing to do with the rollback scenario. You could do that even without thinking about rollback cases. So there really seem to be two different arguments here, and the question is whether any one is a good way of capturing the essence behind the luck argument, and whether you find any of these arguments convincing. So I'm really excited to hear what you think, and I will see you back for the third part of this lecture when we will talk about the explanatory formulation of the luck argument. I will see you then.